As the massive research vessel Celestial Horizon glided silently through the cosmic darkness, Captain Junho felt a strange, tingling sensation at the back of his neck. The ship's advanced neural link sensors were picking up something unusual about the small blue-green planet they were approaching. The bridge hummed with soft electronic pulses, holographic displays dancing with intricate data streams. Yuna, the ship's lead xenobiological analyst, leaned forward, her fingers dancing across the translucent control panels. Her eyes, augmented with micro-computational implants, scanned the planetary data with intense concentration. "Captain," she called out, her voice cutting through the ambient ship sounds. "This planet is different." Junho raised an eyebrow. After decades of exploring hundreds of star systems, different was a bold statement. Their spacecraft, a marvel of engineering that could literally fold space-time, had encountered countless planetary systems, yet something about Earth felt uniquely alive. The Celestial Horizon deployed hundreds of microscopic observation drones. These weren't your typical mechanical scouts, they were living biomechanical entities, capable of adaptive camouflage and complex environmental analysis. Each drone was smaller than a human fingernail, but contained processing power equivalent to entire planetary research centers. As the drones infiltrated Earth's atmosphere, they began transmitting extraordinary data. Humans moved in complex social patterns. Their cities pulsed with energy. Transportation networks looked like intricate neural networks. Communication happened through multiple channels: verbal, digital, physical gestures. What truly surprised the alien research team was human unpredictability. Unlike their own meticulously planned civilization, humans seemed to thrive on chaos, creativity, and spontaneous decision-making. Junho watched a series of drone recordings, a group of children playing in a park, construction workers rebuilding a damaged structure, scientists in a laboratory, musicians performing. Each scene revealed layers of complexity that defied their understanding of intelligent life. "Their reproductive process is completely irrational," Yuna muttered, analyzing genetic transfer patterns. "They invest massive emotional and physical resources into creating offspring. No controlled genetic selection, no predetermined genetic optimization." The drones captured intimate human moments: a mother hugging her child, couples holding hands, friends celebrating together. These weren't just biological interactions, they were profound emotional experiences. Suddenly, an unexpected signal interrupted their observations. A military radar installation had detected one of their reconnaissance drones. The drone's adaptive camouflage began to fail under intense scanning. "Evasive sequence," Junho commanded. The drone transformed, its molecular structure shifting to mimic surrounding atmospheric particles. It wasn't running away, it was becoming invisible. Yuna's analysis continued. Their technological progression is exponential. They've moved from basic mechanical tools to quantum computing in just a few centuries. Their adaptive capabilities are remarkable. The ship's quantum AI began compiling a comprehensive report. Humans weren't just another species, they were a dynamically evolving civilization with unprecedented potential. As night fell on Earth, the Celestial Horizon maintained its cloaked position. Thousands of observation points continued gathering data. The alien researchers were about to discover something that would change their understanding of intelligent life forever. One of the junior researchers, a young analyst named Kai, whispered, "Something that would become prophetic. I think we're not just observing them. They're going to change us." Junho smiled. The universe was about to get very interesting. Mission log, Day 247, Stellar Observation, Cycle Planetary System, Sole Primary Target, Earth Primary Observation, Status, Active Preliminary Evaluation, Extraordinary, Potential Detected. End of Part 1. Would you like me to continue with Part 2 in a similar engaging style? The observation drones continued their silent mission, penetrating deeper into human society. Yuna's fascination grew with each transmitted image and data stream. Humans were walking paradoxes, fragile yet incredibly resilient, limited in physical capabilities but unlimited in imagination. One particular drone disguised itself as a small urban surveillance camera, blending perfectly into the cityscape. Its advanced sensors captured something extraordinary: human social interactions that defied all known biological communication protocols. In a bustling coffee shop, Yuna watched through the drone's eyes as humans connected in ways her species had never comprehended. A group of friends laughed together, their body language communicating more than their verbal words. An elderly couple held hands, their silent connection speaking volumes about emotional bonding. "This is not just communication," Yuna whispered to herself. "This is a complex emotional ecosystem." The ship's advanced quantum processors began analyzing human interaction patterns. They discovered something shocking. Human connections weren't just social interactions, they were intricate networks of emotional energy transfer. Junho walked onto the bridge, his holographic data pad displaying multiple Earth scenarios. Their ability to form spontaneous collaborative networks is unprecedented, he noted. Watch how quickly they organize during crisis situations. The drone captured rescue workers pulling people from a collapsed building. Strangers worked together, without formal coordination, risking their own safety to save others. No predetermined genetic programming, no calculated risk assessment, pure instinctive cooperation. Suddenly, the drone detected an unusual biological phenomenon. A pregnant woman in a hospital was experiencing something the aliens had never witnessed: the complex process of human childbirth. Their reproductive methods seemed incredibly inefficient, yet profoundly beautiful. The medical monitors showed intricate biological transformations. Hormonal exchanges, emotional connections, physical adaptations, all happening simultaneously. The woman's partner held her hand, providing emotional support that seemed to generate actual physiological changes. Their reproductive process is a complete mystery, Kai observed. It's not just genetic transfer, it's a holistic experience involving multiple biological and emotional systems. The ship's xenobiological lab began running complex simulations. They attempted to understand how humans could create new life through such an unpredictable, emotionally charged process. Unexpectedly, one of the drones picked up a global communication network transmission. Millions of humans, simultaneously, sharing information, emotions and experiences through digital platforms. It was like watching a living, breathing neural network in constant motion. Junho was particularly intrigued by human creativity. The drones captured artists creating music, painters expressing emotions through colors, writers constructing entire universes with words. Their ability to generate complex narratives from pure imagination was something their technologically advanced civilization could never replicate. "They don't just reproduce," Yuna explained to the research team. "They generate entire cultural ecosystems with each new generation." The quantum AI began processing the collected data, creating predictive models about human development. But every time it reached a conclusion, humans would do something completely unexpected, shattering all algorithmic predictions. A series of drone recordings showed children playing, scientists experimenting, musicians performing, workers building. Each scenario revealed layers of complexity that challenged everything the aliens understood about intelligent life. "They are not just a species," Junho remarked. "They are a continuously evolving cultural phenomenon." As the celestial horizon continued its silent observation, the research team realized they were witnessing something extraordinary. Humans weren't just another civilization to be studied. They were a dynamic, unpredictable force of nature. The universe they were discovering was far more magnificent and mysterious than any of their previous explorations had ever suggested. Mission log, Day 348, Stellar Observation Cycle Observation. Status: Profound Complexity. Detected Preliminary. Psychological Assessment. Humans represent unprecedented evolutionary potential. End of Part 2. Would you like me to continue with Part 3? In a similar engaging style, the research vessel's laboratory buzzed with electric anticipation. Holographic genetic models swirled around Yuna like living sculptures, revealing intricate human DNA patterns that defied conventional understanding. "This is impossible," she muttered, her neural implants processing millions of genetic variations per second. Humans possessed a genetic complexity that seemed almost magical. Unlike the stellar collective's perfectly structured genetic lines, human DNA appeared chaotic, yet brilliantly adaptive. Each genetic combination was like a unique musical composition, unpredictable, beautiful, potentially revolutionary. Junho's advanced scanning equipment revealed something extraordinary. Human genetic material contained junk DNA, sequences, that seemingly served no immediate purpose. But these alien researchers were beginning to understand that in human biology, nothing was truly random. A series of holographic projections showed human immune system responses. When attacked by unknown pathogens, human bodies didn't just defend, they learned, adapted, and remembered. Each infection became a training ground for future biological defense mechanisms. The ship's quantum AI started generating simulations. It attempted to predict human evolutionary trajectories, but kept encountering unexpected variables. Humans could modify their environment, alter their genetic expressions through lifestyle, and create technological extensions of their biological capabilities. In one remarkable sequence, the drones captured a human laboratory where scientists were exploring genetic modification. They weren't just studying genetics, they were actively attempting to understand and potentially reshape their own biological destiny. "They're conscious architects of their own evolution," Kai observed, watching the laboratory footage. "Not waiting for natural selection, but actively participating in their species' development." The research team discovered something even more fascinating. Human emotional states directly influenced biological processes. Stress, happiness, love, these weren't just psychological experiences. They were complex biochemical interactions that could modify genetic expression. A drone captured a fascinating scenario in a hospital. A patient's recovery seemed significantly influenced by emotional support from family and friends. Their positive interactions weren't just psychological comfort, they were generating measurable physiological changes. Junho zoomed into microscopic genetic sequences. Human DNA contained remarkable reset mechanisms. Unlike their own species' rigid genetic structures, human genes could potentially reverse aging processes, heal damaged tissues, and adapt to extreme environmental conditions. The ship's biological archives began rewriting fundamental understanding of life itself. Humans weren't just a species. They were a living, breathing experiment in evolutionary potential. Unexpected quantum resonances emerged from their genetic studies. Human DNA seemed to communicate in ways that transcended traditional electromagnetic signals. It was almost as if their genetic material possessed its own form of intelligence. "They're not just biological entities," Una explained to the research team. "They're dynamic, self-modifying systems with unprecedented adaptive capabilities." The drones continued their silent observation. In research laboratories, medical facilities, and everyday human environments, they witnessed a species constantly pushing its own biological boundaries. A particularly intriguing sequence showed human technological augmentations. Prosthetic limbs that responded to neural signals, microscopic medical nanobots, experimental brain-computer interfaces. Humans weren't just accepting their biological limitations, they were actively expanding them. The stellar collective's understanding of life was being systematically dismantled. Humans represented a form of biological intelligence that was simultaneously chaotic and brilliantly organized. Junho looked at the swirling genetic models and smiled. "We're not just observing a species," he said softly. "We're witnessing the potential future of life itself." The quantum AI processed this statement, finding no logical contradiction. For the first time in its existence, it encountered a scenario that defied pure mathematical prediction. Mission log, day 456, stellar observation cycle, biological assessment. Humans represent unprecedented evolutionary paradigm recommendation. Continued comprehensive study, end of part 3. Would you like me to continue with part 4 in a similar engaging style? The decision to infiltrate human society wasn't made lightly. Una had prepared a complex strategy that would allow their research team to understand human culture from within. Their advanced holographic transformation technology could create perfect human replicas, complete with convincing biological signatures and digital identities. Kai was selected for the first deep cover mission. His transformation was remarkable, from a structured alien researcher to a seemingly ordinary human graduate student. Every mannerism, every subtle body movement was meticulously programmed to match human behavioral patterns. The infiltration began in a bustling university research center. Kai's chosen identity was a doctoral candidate in anthropological studies, giving him the perfect cover to observe human social dynamics up close. His research proposal focused on collaborative human interaction patterns, a clever way to study human behavior while maintaining academic credibility. What the aliens didn't anticipate was how quickly they would become emotionally entangled with human experiences. Kai's first encounter with genuine human friendship came unexpectedly. During a group research project, his teammates shared personal stories, supported each other's challenges, and demonstrated a level of mutual trust that was completely foreign to their original civilization. The celestial horizon monitored every interaction, processing millions of data points per second. But raw data couldn't capture the nuanced emotional intelligence humans displayed. They didn't just communicate, they connected. Junho watched the infiltration feeds with increasing fascination. Human social networks were living, breathing organisms. Information, emotions, and support flowed through these networks with incredible complexity. A single act of kindness could trigger cascading waves of positive interaction. In the university's research lab, Kai experienced something profound. His team was working on a challenging environmental project. When one researcher's personal life became complicated, the entire group reorganized their schedules to support her. No formal agreement was made. It was an instinctive, organic response. The ship's quantum AI struggled to process these interactions. Their predictive models constantly failed, unable to quantify the depth of human emotional connection. Humans operated on principles that transcended logical calculation. They were driven by empathy, compassion, and collective purpose. Unexpected challenges emerged. Some team members began noticing subtle differences in Kai's behavior. His movements were too precise, his social interactions slightly mechanical. The risk of discovery increased with each passing day, but something even more remarkable was happening. The infiltration team was changing. Their rigid scientific perspective was being systematically dismantled by human interactions. They were learning that emotion wasn't a weakness. It was a sophisticated form of communication and survival strategy. Yuna's research took an unexpected turn. She discovered that human cultural diversity wasn't a limitation, but their greatest strength. Different perspectives, varied experiences, multiple cultural backgrounds all contributed to their species' remarkable adaptability. The drones continued their silent observation, but now they were capturing something beyond pure scientific data. They were witnessing the essence of human experience, the intricate dance of individual and collective existence. Junho recognized the potential transformation happening. Their mission was no longer just about studying humans. It was about understanding a fundamentally different approach to existence. In coffee shops, research labs, community centers, and digital platforms, the infiltration team discovered a species that defied every preconceived notion of intelligent life. Humans were simultaneously fragile and incredibly resilient, limited, yet unlimited, structured yet wonderfully chaotic. The Stellar Collective's leadership would never understand. But here, embedded in human society, the research team was experiencing a profound revelation. Humans weren't just a species to be studied. They were a living, breathing example of evolutionary potential. As weeks turned into months, the line between observation and participation began to blur. The infiltration was becoming something else, entirely, a journey of mutual discovery. Mission log, Day 572, stellar observation, cycle infiltration, status, profound cultural engagement, detected preliminary, psychological assessment, researchers experiencing significant perspective transformation. End of Part 4. The transformation began subtly, like a whisper growing into a thunderous roar. What started as a scientific mission had become something far more profound, a complete reimagining of their entire civilization's understanding of existence. Junho stood on the observation deck of the celestial horizon, watching holographic projections of their collected human research. The ship's quantum systems struggled to process the depth of what they had discovered. Humans weren't just a species to be studied, they were a living blueprint of evolutionary potential. Back on their homeworld, the Stellar Collective was about to experience its most significant cultural revolution. Yuna's comprehensive research report would challenge everything they believed about life, reproduction, and social connection. The first wave of change came through their younger generation. Scientists and researchers who had reviewed the Earth, mission data began questioning their own rigid social structures. They saw something in human interactions that their civilization had lost millennia ago: genuine emotional connection. Kai's infiltration had yielded unexpected results. He had not just observed human culture, he had become part of it. His research team had become more than colleagues, they were now something closer to a family. This concept was revolutionary for their species. Underground movements began forming. Within the Stellar Collective, small groups started exploring emotional bonding, voluntary pair connections, and collaborative living models inspired by human social structures. What was once considered radical was now becoming a cultural movement. The quantum AI of the celestial horizon processed billions of interaction scenarios. Human creativity defied all predictive models. They didn't just solve problems, they reimagined entire systems of thinking. A single human could generate solutions that would take their civilization decades to conceptualize. Political leaders initially resisted the changes. Their entire civilization was built on controlled genetic progression, emotionally detached reproduction, and strictly managed social interactions. But the research was undeniable. Humans demonstrated that emotional complexity was not a weakness, but the most sophisticated form of evolutionary adaptation. Yuna's breakthrough came when she mapped human emotional networks. Unlike their precise, controlled genetic lines, human connections were organic, unpredictable, and incredibly resilient. Emotional bonds could generate physiological changes, enhance survival capabilities, and create collective problem-solving mechanisms. The ship's biological labs began experimental programs. They started exploring ways to integrate emotional connectivity into their own reproductive and social systems. It wasn't about copying humans. It was about understanding a fundamentally different approach to existence. Junho watched as their civilization began to transform. Young researchers started practicing voluntary emotional bonding. They explored concepts like empathy, spontaneous support, and collective creativity. The rigid boundaries of their previous social structure began to dissolve. Unexpected technological innovations emerged. By studying human adaptive capabilities, they developed new quantum communication technologies that could translate emotional states across different biological systems. What was once considered impossible was now becoming a scientific reality. The celestial horizon became more than a research vessel. It became a symbol of their species' potential for transformation. Each data point, each human interaction captured, was rewriting their understanding of intelligence, connection, and evolution. Kai's original infiltration team became cultural ambassadors. They shared not just scientific data, but the profound human experience they had witnessed. Their stories spread like wildfire through their civilization, challenging old beliefs and inspiring new possibilities. The quantum AI made a remarkable observation. Human potential wasn't defined by physical capabilities or technological advancement, but by their ability to imagine, connect, and collectively evolve. They were a species that turned limitations into opportunities. As their civilization stood on the brink of a cultural revolution, Junho realized they were witnessing something extraordinary. Humans had shown them that life was not about control, but about continuous, beautiful adaptation. The universe, they now understood, was far more magnificent and mysterious than any of their previous explorations had ever suggested. Mission Log. Final Entry Observation Cycle. Complete Primary. Conclusion. Humans represent unprecedented evolutionary potential. Recommendation. Continuous study and cultural integration. End of Part 5. Would you like me to provide any additional details or modifications to the story? Would you like me to continue with the final Part 5 in a similar engaging style?